So today we are on the Mumonkan Case 45. We're going to play with the gender a little bit here and call this one, Who is She? So the koan is, Master Hoenn of Tozan said, Shakyamuni and Maitreya are but her servants. Now, tell me, who is she? So Shakyamuni is the Buddha, the past Buddha, and Maitreya is the future Buddha. So we're saying that the past and future Buddhas are servants of another. Who is she? And I have hints. They're all around, right? So the reason I picked this koan tonight is I wanted to talk a little bit about meditation itself. Zen is the school of Buddhism which focuses on and emphasizes the practice of sitting meditation. And the Buddha came to enlightenment in meditation and said, I and all beings are simultaneously enlightened. Right? So there it is, servants of another. Right out of the gate, we're talking about all beings. Right? And we frequently talk about serving others and helping others. But what is it that we're doing on this cushion that we keep coming back to so much? And why is it different than what maybe other schools are doing? Not that there's nothing wrong with other religious practices, right? And one of the cool things about Zen is it's non-theistic, right? We're not having that argument. We're just saying, hey, sit here and discover the true nature of yourself. Or maybe we should say the true nature of your no-self. So in the beginning, we learn to sit and we receive an anchor of some kind. We focus on our breath, we count our breaths, right? Breathe in 1, breathe out 2, have a thought, go back to 1. Right? What are we doing? We're developing the capacity to observe the mind stream. And that is super important because even for advanced practitioners, the tricky part becomes how do you step out of the self-identified mind stream in life? Probably 20 years of sitting before I recognized, like, wait a minute. When I'm feeling distressed, I don't have to run to my cushion. I can do that in the moment. Like I can do cushion things just right here. I can use the content of my reality as a thought coming up and I can observe it and then I can allow it. Last week we talked about seeing neither good nor evil. Who is the true self of Monk Myo, right? That seeing neither good nor evil, what does that mean? It means not evaluating, not judging, not telling a story about, not identifying with. And this is big. Like, this seems simple, but it's huge. It's so deep. It's a pervasive component of the human experience that we welcome in certain aspects of ourselves and identify with those as who we are, and we reject others. And then the practice of meditation and the practice of Zen itself becomes a project of, like, how do I, like, optimize, right? It's like corporate Zen, right? How do we optimize our enlightenment experiences to minimize dukkha and maximize compassion and presence? Oh, we got to pick the low-hanging fruit, and I don't know. I'm running out of corporate slang rapidly. But what I'm saying is that's not the way, right? There's no circling back in Zen. There's only the moment. There's only the present moment. So it's funny because typically people that come to do this are the kind of people who want to work on themselves, myself included, right? So then the project becomes, how do I use my meditation to turn myself into the version of myself that I want. But I have like really bad news if that's what you're up to. Because I've been doing this for 27 years and I still haven't pulled it off, right? 28 years now, Jesus. Right? Like I still haven't managed to turn myself into the version of myself that I was hoping to get when I started sitting in 1996. I have fortunately also abandoned that project, so it's okay. but it's like I just like I want to save you a lot of time, right? So the way we save that time is you're here and you have to start to, or you don't have to, but you have the option of taking the version of you that shows up less seriously, right? Don't disregard, because our patterns, our karma, like we have views about ourselves, and we have aspirations to be a certain way. But what's funny is a lot of times, like in the moment, like Shakyamuni and Maitreya are servants of another. Like when there's another in your face who needs you, a lot of times, like the version of this idealized version pops up. It's like, oh, someone's in need. How's it going? Let me help you. And like, there's no ego. The ego just dissolves. The analogy I always use is like, if we look out in the street and we see a baby carrier with a baby in it sitting in the middle of the road, we don't form a committee to decide what to do and then consider the pros and cons, right? We're already moving. Like we just grab the baby out of the street instantly with no thought for our own safety or anything, right? That's enlightenment. That's just moving toward the right, the healthy, the vibrant, the living thing. But so when our life brings into our sphere an opportunity to be of service in a profound way, a lot of times all of our BS just vanishes and what emerges is spontaneous and compassionate. And so, but then, that isn't where the problem is. The problem is like, in our relationships, or when it's quiet at home, or when there's lots of transition and we feel insecure, or when it gets quiet and our baggage comes up. And then we can go to the cushion and be like, okay, I have a problem with anxiety. I'm gonna work on that problem, right? I'm gonna fix it. That was kind of my project. One of my projects was like, and then I'm trying to like feel more zen. I'm trying to feel more at peace. I'm trying to use visualizations to help me calm down. And I'm not anti-coping skills, right? Like one of the things I suggest to people is like, go take a salt bath, right? I used to could say bath salts, but now that's a drug, so I can't say that anymore, right? Go use bath salts. Like what? No, that's not what I mean. But yeah, like you get these like lavender salts, you take a bath and you play soft music and light a candle and you relax and you feel good, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Like it's great. It's better to do that than to like go be stressed or, go drink a bunch of alcohol or something. However, the purpose of Zen practice is not deep relaxation, although one of the outcomes can be that your capacity to relax goes up, right? The purpose of Zen is to work with what's there. So if there's anxiety, it's okay to go, and this is sort of what my meditation practice frequently looks like these days, right? Is, when you complete koan study, then the remaining practice that you often do is shikantaza, which is just sitting, right? So we just sit here, right? But of course, in the just sitting, things come into your field of awareness and you allow them to pass through. But so then we can just sit with anxiety, right? There it is, It's Simon and Garfunkel, right? Hello, darkness, my old friend, right? Hi, how's it going? And then one of a few things will happen, right? A lot of times it'll just dissipate. Like if we think neither good nor evil, often the thing that we're resisting just goes, just vanishes. Or something will emerge into that space that needs to be addressed, right? I'm spending too much money. I'm trying to please someone because I'm insecure about their opinion. Like something actionable may come up, right? And then we use upaya, we use skillful means. We say, okay, I now see a blind spot that I didn't see until I just got quiet. But if I'm trying to suppress what's coming up with, like, the idealized version of myself, right? The relaxed, enlightened, peaceful, all is well version of myself, then that won't work. And so a lot of times, like if you go to these like mindfulness seminars and read these different books and things about mindfulness, they really skew toward the advantages of those practices. Like, and there's whole schools of counseling thought, like mindfulness-based stress reduction. And I'm not anti-stress reduction. Like, obviously, if someone can use mindfulness to feel less stressed, good, they should. And like, there's so much more to the Buddha's teaching than you're stressed, you go into the mindful state, now you feel less stressed. Well, of course you feel less stressed, because now before you were identified with the stress, so you are the stress. If you use mindfulness, now you're watching the stress. So that's different. That's a different experience. But nobody then says, well, now what? So I kind of want to give that talk, like, well, now what? Okay, so I'm being mindful, I'm observing my stress, now what? Well, now we allow it. Now we hug it. Now we welcome it fully. Like, what is it? Like, seek to understand it. Dogen says we study the self. He didn't say we casually glance at the self out of the corner of our eye. He said we study the self. Study. Have y'all ever studied for anything? I have. Like, I have 2 master's degrees. I had to study. Like, study with a capital L, like this work, right? So we study the self. What is this thing? What are all of the pieces of the things that we're identified with? What are they? What's coming up right now, right? And then we can stop ourselves and go, okay, now think neither good nor evil. Right? In the midst of thinking good and evil, right? In the midst of going, like, in the midst of our irritation, right? We can stop right there. And that's meditation, right? It's taking meditation into our daily lives. And that's where the rubber really meets the road, is like, and then that allows us to allow everyone to be exactly where they are. And it's an incredible gift. It's kind of hilarious how, like, I think one of the byproducts of modernity, of modern life, is that now everyone is chirping their opinions about what everyone else says all of the time. So someone like, you can post a sunset and like someone will find a way to snipe at you. And I had a client years ago who was young, and I'll tell the story in a way that doesn't give anything away in terms of who it was, but they indicated that they had a lot of anxiety around dating. And they were very young, college-age person who you'd expect to be engaged in dating. And they didn't want to ever talk to anyone or attempt to engage. And I said, I'm just confused. I was like, you don't seem to have any characteristics that would make me think that it would be difficult for you to find some people who would be interested in engaging you in that way, right? And they said, well, you don't understand, Alan. When you were dating, like, if you talked to a person and they rejected you, that was the end of it. But if I talk to someone and they reject me, then it goes on 5 social media platforms instantaneously and everyone knows, and now I'm rejected across a whole circle of people. And I was like, oh, white beard, right? It's just like, oh my gosh, wow, it never occurred to me, right? Here I am trying to coach this person toward some, Gen X 1990s version of like, Just shoot your shot, and if the person isn't into it, it's okay. Like, move on. That just means it wasn't meant to be. It's like not understanding that that young person is growing up in a world where it's like, we're here live at the site of this person's rejection. What are you going to do now that you're not getting a date? It's horrifying. It's horrifying. But so what does this lead to, right? This leads to people walking around in terror of how you're going to respond to them. And so when we respond to people with just warm presence, just like a person is like a thought coming up into your field. And we can, as a precondition of interacting with other people, decide that we're going to be accepting of what we find before we find it. Just as when we come to the cushion, we sit down and we say, okay, whatever comes up, I'm going to face it. That's the point of this practice. We're not sitting here to face the easy stuff. We're sitting here to face the hard stuff. And then we talk about the mountain and the marketplace, right? The mountain is the monastery. The mountain is you go up to the mountain away from people. That's this practice hall, right? This is the mountain. We're away from, there's no televisions here, right? There's no loud music. There's no one who doesn't want to do Zen. Like, we're just, we're here to sit. We're here to support each other, to go within and do this thing. That's the mountain. The marketplace is where everyone is. Some people buy it, some people don't. Some people think it's stupid. Some people are interested. Some people are in crisis. All sorts of stuff is coming up constantly, all the time, like crazy. But we can decide, as we come off of the cushion, I'm going to allow everyone to be in exactly the Dharma position that they're in, no matter what it is, and then I'll work with them from there as best I can, with as much compassion as I can muster. With wisdom, right? Obviously, we still have boundaries, we still are wise, we still don't do silly, foolish things. But, if the Buddha is the servant of another, right? If the past Buddha is the servant of another and the future Buddha is the servant of another, then who are we servants of? Another, right? And the way that we serve others is by recognizing that we're not separate from others. Not separate at all. And being aware of that, how can we judge? How can we attack? How can we dismiss? We can't, because we're dismissing ourselves when we do that. So, when you sit, allow it to come up. And when you walk through your life, allow it to come up. And then work with it. Just work with it. Good.